to spend some time with a guy that is very familiar with Tuscaloosa. He played at the University of Alabama. He walked out winning a national title playing at the University of Alabama. He was the leading blocker for Mark Ingram and the 2009 Heisman Trophy winner. Baron Huber, it's good to see you, man. I hope you're doing well, and it's good to be able to catch up here on a Tuesday afternoon in T-Town.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on. I tell you, you say somebody that's no stranger to Tuscaloosa, but when you come in town, things have changed so much from the studio that you work in now all the way to campus and the roads and everything. I tell you, it's an exciting time to be in Tuscaloosa. There's no doubt about that.
All right, so let's go back here because, and this is radio for me, I remember interviewing you coming out of Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm trying to think of the high school, but it's a Christian high school. You committed to the University of Alabama, and I'm going because I hated Tennessee so bad. And I just getting a player from Knoxville and celebrating and having you a chance to feature you as a recruit and then watching your playing days here in Tuscaloosa as we take it back several years ago.
Oh, it's kind of a unique story. Growing up a Tennessee fan, obviously Alabama was a bad word in my house. But it's kind of amazing how things have changed. I guess, 12, 14 years now that I've lived in the state 13 years.
Wow.
So it's been 13 years ago since I left Knoxville, and a lot of things have changed in college football since then, and a lot of things have changed in that rivalry since then. We've rattled off 11 in a row now, and
last
looking
time they
for 12.
beat us was 2006,
and
October the 21st of 2006.
Well, I was there on that team last time they beat us, and I was on the team the last time Mississippi State beat us, and I was on the team the last time Louisiana Monroe beat us. So, I tell people all the time when I go home, of course, home being Knoxville, people always give me a hard time. Oh, well, you bandwagoner, you left us. And I said, no, not necessarily. When I first came to Alabama, I got to see the perspective of when we were really good, and I got to see the perspective when we were really bad. And both ends of the spectrum have made me appreciate my time and how fortunate I was to be able to spend it here.
And I've asked you this multiple times, but we get new listeners from time to time and may have not heard the story. And I asked quite a few of the guys that were part of the transition group of players. Nick Saban walks in. I know he walked in with a national title, but how quick did you see up close and personal that there was just something different about this guy? Nobody could have projected 5 out of the 9 championships, but when did you realize that this guy was special? He was on another level.
I think it was when and you got to remember you're a kid, right? I'm a 20-year-old kid at the time, and realizing that the attention to detail was just magnificent. From the way that not only that we went about our training had changed, but the way that we went about eating and where we ate and how we ate, and all the way down to the mattresses that we slept on in the dorm changed. And so, I think Coach came in with a point to prove. He won a national championship at LSU, and then, he went to the NFL, and I think from a win and loss record standpoint, it was left much to be desired from him. I wouldn't say that he or Miss Terry would say that was a failure in their life. But I think from a win and loss record, there was a lot to be out there to be achieved for him. And so when he came to Tuscaloosa, he's not the same Nick Saban that he was or that he is today. I see more of a father figure now. I see more of a guy that I truly don't believe it's about championships as much as it is about him being able to share his success with others and change their lives. He uses a term, be a blessing to somebody else. And you hear him say that, and you've heard him say it over and over again. And that's something that I say to myself, every week, if not every day. How can I be a blessing to somebody else? And I think what he's built here, he realizes that this is a way to encompass and change people's lives. He changed mine, certainly, and he's changed people's, since I've been gone. And I think that's going to be something that's going to be more than the championships, more than the wins. I think his legacy is going to be the success of his former players and what they've been able to do with their lives under his tutelage, not just as a coach, but as a CEO as that father figure, and certainly as an X's and O's guy.
Do you guys sit around as the group of players that went through that transition, and do you guys tell the battle stories? Because something tells me when he came in, I mean, he was trying to set the tone.
Oh, he had to set the tone, and he had to. We had a lot of guys that held important leadership roles in our team that did not buy into the process. And I think the fruits of that labor was a 7-6 year. You come in the next year in 2008, and the guys that held those positions, I think of Antoine Caldwell and your next guest, John Parker Wilson, and Rashad Johnson and Marlon Davis and Bobby Greenwood. Those guys, they really set the tempo for where we're at today. They were the trendsetters. They were the genesis of this whole deal. And when Coach came in, he came in like a gunslinger, and he had to. I think he had a lot to prove to the fans. I think he had a lot to prove to himself. And I think he had a lot that was in front of him that he didn't have much of a choice. That was what he's going to have to do. And I look at how he handles certain situations, and I'm fortunate enough that he's very welcoming for former players to come to practice, and I've had that opportunity, which I'm very thankful for. And I look at how practice is conducted, the pace and everything is still ferocious, but some of the coaching and some of the back padding wasn't quite there, the years that I can remember. But you know what? Look, they've both been successful, both methods, and it's been really, really fun to watch our program grow and to watch Coach grow in some ways. I think he would say the same thing. He's had a lot of growth.
And I see a Nick Saban. I've covered him since he got off the plane. I see a different Nick Saban in some ways. I see a lot of the same, but I also see someone who's very happy, and they have found that balance. And maybe that's the granddaughter that may have changed and may have added another element, which, kids do that to us. But you see that healthy balance that has created that. I don't know if the Nick Saban, and this is just my words, that were there early on, if he could have continued at that pace for 11 years.
Well, I think part of the balance that you see being struck is from former players coming back. This is the longest he's been at a stop. And he's able to see people like John Parker Wilson and Rashad Johnson now come back as a color guy and a sideline guy, and see that they're bringing their families back and what they've been able to do and achieve. I think of guys that I played with, what they've gone on to become and what they've achieved in their lives. And, I think he looks at it and goes, maybe this thing's a little bit bigger than wins and losses. Maybe it's a little bit bigger than, going out there and executing the plays. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think that fire in him is ever going to go away. And that's the key to our success, is not only being able to do it at a higher level, but to be able to do it consistently at a higher level than everybody else. But I think he's looking at he's gaining perspective, as Dr. Elko would say. Life is about perspective, and I think he's the longer that he's here, the more perspective he gains on what he's doing and what he's accomplishing.
You talked about the blessing a couple of minutes ago. Let me ask you from a leadership standpoint, because we talk about football and X's and O's, and we talk about championships, but I've often said what excites me the most, and yeah, it's fun to cover, and we talk about national titles, and, we're expecting another one this year, and it's just so easy that, we're automatic, right? It's just automatic, as Nick Saban reminds us. But I'm also excited about post-football for a lot of people, because I've watched individuals come into this program. I watched them 3 and 4, 5 years later leave here and accomplish something, and I'm excited to see the group of leaders do things special in our community, be a part of our state. Let me ask you, when you talk about leadership outside of the game of football, give me that life lesson that you learned there that you apply daily, or maybe it's not daily, maybe it's weekly, something that Nick Saban taught you.
Well, I know that it's weekly for sure, because I listen to Dr. Kevin Elko's Monday Morning Cup of Inspiration every Monday. And I don't know Dr. Kevin Elko if there's not Nick Saban in my life. So I know that I think about him at least once a week. And if I said that it was daily, I probably wouldn't be lying about that either. Now, do I sit there and I daydream about him or fantasize about the good old days? Not so much, but there's something that comes up, whether it be in business or opportunity or crossroads or difficult times, all of which I've had in my life since I've left Tuscaloosa. Coach Saban seems to be that voice somewhere in the back of my head that I think about a time that he would have, how would he coach me through this? I can't say that he and I had like the greatest player, coach relationship in the world. I mean, I didn't sit on his lap and, and hang out in his office every day. You know what I mean? But he spoke to me through speaking through the team, and I think his ability to find what is it in me or what is it in a player that makes you special, find it, accentuate it, and share it. Not everybody can be Mark Ingram. I played with a guy that won the Heisman Trophy. We needed him to be a Heisman Trophy running back that year in order to win a national championship, and he was able to bring that out in him, and he was able to do it. We needed a guy to snap the ball perfectly to P.J. Fitzgerald every time, every play, and that was Brian Selman. And his role was to snap the ball perfectly. We needed guys that could make holes and do the dirty work and pass protect. That was Mike Johnson. We had guys that had roles and invested in, no matter how big, how small, they were able to invest in themselves first, knowing that investing in themselves was going to be the embetterment of the team. And that's a piece of leadership that I've taken in my life, is investing in myself. And that, I'm not saying selfishly, like, going and getting a massage and spoiling on clothes or cars. I'm talking about investing in my mental makeup, investing in how I handle, good times, how I handle bad times, and wanting to get better and be a better me. Because now my team is no longer the University of Alabama. It's me and my daughter. It's my family. And so it's been a great 9 years. Hard to believe it'll be 10 years next year since the anniversary of his first national championship at Alabama. But it's been a lot of fun, been a lot of growth, been a lot of challenges, but it's been a lot of fun.
All right, so one of the transitions that we're going to talk some current football, and I'm going to get your thoughts when we talk about transitioning and where Nick Saban is offensively. But I also want to talk about some things that you're doing now, and I want to talk about some things, and this is the part that I think is fun as we explore, and it'll be fun to watch you guys continue. And I'm not trying to downplay football by any means, but I'm excited to see what you guys are able to do. Give me a latest update with Baron Huber, what you're doing now, and then some adventures that you're opening up, and some opportunities for maybe some of the listening audience.
Yeah, so I started a medical device company out of school, and we're still in business. We'll be in business 9 years this coming April. I started that business with my mother, and so she's my business partner and the warden. So whatever she says definitely goes. But one of the things I've been working on this last year with Jeff Allen and Kinematic Sports is how to bring the reality of sideliner to athletes across the country, and it's kind of like Coach Saban says, I'm a process guy, right? So you got to start small. We didn't start saying, we're going to be national champions. We started by saying, we're going to train better. We're going to work at little things better. And so I've been fortunate enough to get with Jeff Allen and his partners, Jared Cassidy and Patrick Powell, and kind of the timeline, how things went. In 2015, Jeff got with Dean Carr in the engineering school and said, look, I have this idea that I'd like to bring to life, and that would enable me to evaluate our players not only more thoroughly, but privately. And being in my professional career, being in healthcare the entire time, we're entitled to copious amounts of privacy in our healthcare. Everybody is. And the one fragment or one sector that has no privacy are athletes. You're laid out on a piece of meat on a table when you're hurt for the whole world to see. And as someone who's suffered a traumatic injury in the field of play, my first catch at Alabama, I broke my right ankle. Here it is. I spend my entire young adult life getting to this moment, the pinnacle of college football and what should be a happy time. I break my ankle, and the very first thing I'm thinking of is my career is over. I'm watching my right ankle just dangle. And I wish I would have been afforded this opportunity as a player to have that private moment to myself, to not only to personally take this in, but to be able to give the physicians and the trainers the ability to administer proper training. And so that idea started in 2015, and Dean Carr sent it to Jared Cassidy and Patrick Powell, two engineers and two engineering students, and they put like a prototype up for him, and it looked great, and it made its debut in 2016, and it started on the sidelines at the University of Alabama. Brent Musburger drew attention to it. I think the first player, I could be wrong about this, was Kenyon Drake to enter the tent. I'm pretty sure.
Oh wow, okay.
And so in 2016 it makes its debut. And in 2017, the NFL invests in it. And the NFL says, look, we're going to put a sideliner on every sideline. And if you watched NFL games last year, you saw it when they had they use it to administer their concussion protocol. And in between that time frame from 2015 to 2017, what they call the concussion in sports group. It's an international group of trainers that come together and doctors to talk about concussions. And in their meeting in 2016, they found that a key concept in administering concussion protocol is that rapid screening right after the time of a possible sports related concussion, and they call it the SCAT-5 protocol. And one of the things that they determined in order to give a thorough evaluation is to administer the protocol in a distraction-free environment that, quote, other than a sideline, meaning the player has to leave. They have to be in a private environment. And so it was great timing for Kinematic Sports and Jeff Allen and those folks, because this is something that's facing us all, and it's not just in football. It's in soccer. It's in other sports where there are sports related concussions. And so I had a passion for it being a former player, and they obviously have a passion for it in order to bring it to the sidelines from a medical standpoint. And we were able to merge those things together and put together an opportunity that we're all passionate about, is how can we bring this to athletes? And in specific, how can we bring it to high schools? The majority of the high schools in our state don't have an abundance. They don't have $1 million booster program to deal with, that funds it. And, my high school back in East Tennessee, for $6,800, we're never going to get a sideliner. We don't have that kind of money. And so, it became personal to me. How can I bring this opportunity? How can I bring this purpose-built privacy to athletes in our state? Not just football, but to all of them. And we were able to team with Taylor Martino Law Firm in Mobile, Baldwin County area, and they stepped up to the plate and knocked it out of the park for us. When we met with them, Steve Martino, Richard Taylor, Ed Rowan, those guys, they saw the need for privacy. They understood the need, and knowing what an athlete goes through at those times, to have a place to go to be thoroughly evaluated. And if, in my case, if you got some emotions that you go through. And so they got on board with us. And what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to bring a sideliner to every high school free of charge, no cost, in the Mobile, Baldwin County area. And obviously my goal is to bring it to every high school in the state of Alabama, and I'm going to continue to work to do that, and I will do it at some point. But this was just the first step. And so we're excited about taking that first step.
Yeah, but how cool is it? And I'm going to go to break here, and we'll continue. Barrett's he's hanging out in studio with us. We're going to talk some current Alabama football and some expectations. But how cool is it that something started with Jeff Allen, and I don't know how the idea came about, but something creative, who took a chance, and you see Alabama not just setting the standard for in the college game, but the NFL game, it adopts something with Sideliner and Kinematic Sports that they accepted in the NFL. So in other words, when you trust Nick Saban and Alabama and Jeff Allen and Scott Cochran and all this process, Amy Bragg, which is a world-renowned nutritionist, is that they have so much advantage. that they're teaching the NFL something. To me, I mean, think about that for a minute.
Well, I think that has a lot to do with being an exterior thinker, thinking outside of the box, thinking about how can I make things better? Not just about me, like how can I make my life better, but how can we make other lives better? How can we affect community? How can we affect the team positively? How can we affect the state positively? Maybe one day we can affect the country positively. And to be able to do it at the high school level, which I think is the most purest, is the purest form of sport, is high school.
It's fun. It starts this week too. This is
great.
Football week here.
I know, man.
High school football.
It's hard to believe, but it's been a blessing, and we're excited about it. Like I said, we're going to start in Mobile, Baldwin County, thanks to Taylor Martino Law Firm, and we're gonna take it. We're gonna do more in the state. Maybe it catches on nationwide or not, I don't know. But to be able to be a blessing to this point and continue that blessing has been exciting for us.
All right, let's break here. We're going to talk more about Sideliner and Kinematic Sports as we travel through, but I want to ask you about some expectations because, see, I think Nick Saban is fighting something inside. And I'm going to explain. I'm going to ask Baron Huber if I'm right or wrong about this when you talk about offensive philosophy for Nick Saban. Where he was in 2009, and is he still trying to hold on or will he let go in 2018. We'll talk about it as we continue right here on The Game. Baron Huber, national champion winning fullback at the University of Alabama. You're listening to The Game here in T-Town on Tide 102.9 and 100.9, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The Game with Ryan Fowler, powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 102.9 and 100.9, and the Tide 102.9 app.
We're visiting with Baron Huber, former fullback at the University of Alabama. Let's go back because I think we got to transition to the point when you look at the Nick Saban and Jim McElwain, and it wasn't Mac, it was Nick Saban probably not wanting to give up too much of that offense and wanted to protect his defense. So we go to Lane Kiffin, 2014, Blake Sims, Amari Cooper, and the run-pass options that he implemented in that year, and they're still there today. Talk about the transition, not where we are now, but just looking at offense, 2009 national championship year, and then 2014 when Lane Kiffin really got him to open up even a little bit more.
I would say that there is a difference would be the biggest understatement that I could put. I think back to 2009 and the second half of the South Carolina game. We ran like maybe 5 total plays, and Mark Ingram was the quarterback, the running back. He didn't throw the ball, but he could have. But, we went into the Wildcat, and we just basically ran it down their throat the entire second half. And so somebody that's a former fullback, we could run the ball 65 times a game, and I would be complaining why we didn't run it 70. So
sure.
I think that the sport has a natural progression to it, especially offensively. And, I think some things were needed. I think one of the things that we do really, really well, and the reason why we've been able to sustain success is we really play into the talent that we have. And, I couldn't say that about LSU and Les Miles. I think that's why he's not there any longer. I wouldn't say that about Philip Fulmer. I think Philip Fulmer he had his 15 minutes because he just couldn't change. And that's one thing I'll tip my hat to Coach Saban and the coaching staff. I think they've been able to change with the times appropriately. Now, if he ever wanted to go back to 3 yards in a cloud of dust, I'd be happy with that too. But, I'm not going to question the man. I think he's got the answers.
All right, so did I understand you correctly? Did you say 5 plays in 2009?
So I'm being a little facetious about that, but I'll be honest with you. I bet we didn't run more than 8 different plays the entire second half. And if you think about it, South Carolina that year was like 15 or 18. I know they were in the top 25 for sure. That was a big game, and that was a tight coming out in the second half. That was a tight game, and we were able to put it on ice, and really, we did it quite impressively. It was by blunt force.
You think about Mark May, and I know he's played for Joe Pendry there at Pittsburgh, and you think about Mark May. I always laughed at what he said. He goes, Alabama's not a secret of what they want to do. You know exactly what they're trying to do. There's just nothing you can do about it. You got to sit there and almost like take it. And I guess that really confirms what you just said is what Alabama's going to do. It's not like a secret. Then they just lined up and did it to you.
Well, and Ryan, it's not like it's something that's new to Alabama football. Alabama football's been doing this. Hell, I've been alive 31 years, so all 31 that I can remember, it's been that way. I mean, when Alabama's at its best, you know that you can't stop them. They line up, they know that you can't stop them, and they still continue to impact their will on the other team. And I think that's been an MO of this program since its inception. And I think that's one of the beautiful things, and one of the things that I'm fortunate to be a small part of a really big conglomerate of Alabama football, because that hasn't changed. And I love that. That's one of my favorite things about being Alabama.
And that's going to be a lot of fun as we look at these quality backs here in Tuscaloosa, whether you're talking about a guy that could be a record for Alabama, 3 consecutive seasons, 1,000 yards each season. Damian Harris has a chance to do that. When you look at Josh Jacobs, Najee Harris, Brian Robinson, I think we kind of forget about these quality backs in the backfield. We'll talk more about Alabama football. Baron Huber here visiting with us. You're listening to The Game in T-Town on Tide, 102.9 and 100.9. The home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
If anyone asks you what station you listen to keep up with the Alabama Crimson Tide, tell them Tide 102.9 and 100.9 WTID-FM on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 102.9 and 100.9 and the all-new Tide 102.9 app.
All right, so knowing as rowdy as you are with Alabama Crimson Tide football and how you bleed crimson, I got to walk you back to when Alabama beat the Dogs over in Atlanta. Okay, second half, give me your reaction. Give me your walkthrough. Were you hitting the panic button, or were you pretending to be, this Nick Saban program player? Don't look at the scoreboard, just execute. What were you doing?
Being 9 years out, maybe some of it's worn off, because I was looking at the scoreboard and I was tooth and nail. I mean, it was one of the more stressful major parts of my life.
Sure, yeah, me too.
Because we've all had real things that really matter that are stressful. But I was just kind of shaking my head. Just to be very candid with you, I had this conversation with my father when we found out that it was going to be Alabama and Georgia. And that game to me was not about a national championship. That really did not play into my mind at any point. This was a Game of Thrones version of the passing of the torch, right? I mean, this was the strategic move, right? I mean, this was the king of the court, has been for so long. Is he going to falter, and is he going to lose the crown?
Sure.
And that was Coach, right? And so to me, it was more about establishing and keeping the balance of power and the respect, and everybody in the league knowing where you're at and you ain't where we're at yet. And that's what it was about for me. And I wasn't ready to see the king lose his crown just yet. And sure enough, just like it was drawn up, right? Come out second half, make complete wholesale adjustments, and you go on, you win.
Yeah, and I'm just glad some of my media friends, because we're sitting up in the press box, and after the first half, we're sitting there with a group of people that cover Alabama, and I said, "Man, this thing's over." I mean, I might as well get an early jump on the interstate, which I didn't. I decided to stay around. I'm glad I did. But I'm sitting there, and I'm hitting the full panic button. I'm like, man, here it is. I thought we were whipped, because I didn't know if Nick Saban would make that adjustment at halftime. And
well, I think the biggest thing for me that kept hope alive was it was a 2-play game.
Sure.
And anything can happen within 2 plays. You get a special team, you can return a kick, you can get a turnover, because I wasn't necessarily sure that we were going to score 14 points offensively. I thought like we were going to have to come up with a touchdown somewhere else other than just the offense. And, Tua comes in, and sure enough, he throws an interception on his first possession. And I guess the rest is history after that.
So knowing Nick Saban the way that you know him, you see Tua throw that interception. What were you thinking there? What's going through your coach's mind just from a player perspective? Did you think he would come back out, or did you think, this is Jalen may be coming right back into this game.
Well, I like baseball. I watch a lot of baseball, and now I travel so much I listen to more baseball than I get to watch, especially day baseball. And you'll have a pitcher. Justin Verlander gave up like 7 earned runs a couple weeks ago, and he's one of the best in the league. He's been one of the best in the league for I don't know how long. So you wonder, like, how can somebody like Verlander give up 7 earned runs in 3 innings? It doesn't mean that he's a bad pitcher. It just means like it just wasn't his day. And that's kind of how I felt about Jalen Hurts. Is he a bad quarterback? Would we have lost the game if he stayed in? I don't know all those answers. They're too ambiguous for me to answer. But I know this much: it just wasn't his day. And so I kind of felt like the right move was to go to Tua and see if you can't shake it up. I mean, what else do you have to lose at that point? One of the things that we can always hang our hat on is the defense only gave up 13 points, and we really left them out on the field too long. So, I thought it was a calculated decision, and I honestly felt like it was the right decision.
Knowing Nick Saban, let me ask you this, because when you look at Tua Tagovailoa, he's a guy that's he's a gunslinger. I mean, he's not afraid to throw the football. How much do you think? And Nick Saban probably hasn't called you in the last 24 hours and given you an update on the quarterback situation. But how much do you think it is Nick Saban when he looks at Tua and he goes, because there's probably things that he does, especially trying to thread the needle, or he's looking at it knowing what he has on offense, and he's looking at it going, man, it probably just inside demons when you look at Nick Saban just trying to come to grips that I got a gunslinger that might put my defense in weird situations from time to time. And I don't want him to take chances, but he's probably going to take chances if he's our guy.
Yeah, I mean, for the entire Saban era, the quarterback at Alabama has been synonymous with game manager. I mean, at some point in time, every starter, you've heard the term game manager. I don't know that Tua is going to be a, quote, game manager. But in some ways, I think that's the intrigue about him that I like. I like a quarterback that can step into the huddle and breed confidence. I like a guy that can go out there and make a mistake, and that, he's going to make it up. He's just going to make it up. I played with guys in sports like that. I love those kinds of guys. And I think at that position, there's a difference in stupidity and ignorance. And sometimes a little bit of ignorance can be a little fun. And so I think I think that if Tua is, I obviously think he's going to play this year, but if he's the starter, we're going to see a little bit different pizzazz at quarterback than we've seen in the Saban era. And I think it's going to be fun to watch. If nothing else, it's going to be fun to watch Coach and how he reacts to it.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, it's gonna have to be some patience with the offensive side of the football or the defensive side of the football, because not saying that this will not be the typical Nick Saban defense in November and December, but there's going to be some growing pains. I mean, you tell me another program that could lose coordinator, defensive line coach, inside backers coach, and they have 3 new coaches out of 4 on that side of the football. New coordinator that's really never called plays. 8 new starters on that side of the football. You tell me another program that could go through that much change and not have a little bit of a drop-off on that side of the football. It's Nick Saban has to fight all the odds.
And I think your answer would be Alabama would be the only program that can.
Right.
And a lot of that is the work that they put in on the recruiting trail. I mean, everybody from not just the assistant coaches and Coach Saban, but, Jeff Allen, the training staff, Miss Bragg and nutrition, and Scott Cochran and what he does in the weight room. I mean, it's a full-on assault when it comes to recruiting. And you have to recruit players and you have to have depth. And, the one thing that I would point to, Ryan, that I just, and be quite honest with you, this is the least familiar I've been with the roster since I've been out, just because of work and what we've been doing with Kinematic Sports and Sideliner. But I think time of possession is probably going to be the most important thing initially when the season starts. You're going to have a lot of young guys on defense. You're going to have a young defensive coordinator. To be able to put them in a position to succeed and give them time to get familiar with each other on the sidelines and what it's like when the live bullets are coming at each other and those in-game adjustments. and not putting them in a situation where they're 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and they're having to just get back on the field over and over and over again. I think the more chances and the more opportunity you can give them to gel in game, it's going to be important. And we have the running backs and we have the offensive line to be able to do that. And so, everybody's talking about the quarterback competition, and the more I look at it, let's just run the football, and that'll take care of all of it.
All right, so let me tie this together, and I'm going to break. It's not sometimes about throwing the football; it's the threat to throw the football, and you get those safeties a little further away from the line of scrimmage. Take a big second here and chew on those rushing lanes that are going to be open a little bit when you're using a lot of the field. You're using wide receivers; they don't know how you're going to beat you. Those running backs in that backfield, they got to be smiling somewhere, going, there's going to be some availability because there's not going to be so many guys in that darn box.
Yeah, and that's the key. The more you can keep, nobody likes to be off balance, right? I mean, if you're going to walk down the steps, you're going to grab the rail and you're going to make sure that you're in balance going down each step. Same way with the defense. You don't ever want to be calling plays as a defensive coordinator and not knowing where it's coming from. And the more balanced we can stay, I think the more open our running game looks. And not to mention, we have a great offensive line. I think we have guys up front that know how to work well together. I think they're very talented, and we have a fair amount of experience. And when you couple that with really good running backs like Damian Harris, I think you're in for a pleasant surprise. And I think you're in for the opportunity, Ryan, even when you can't stretch the field, for them to be able to make enough of a crease to get 4 and 5 yards, even if it does get stacked against us.
We are talking to Baron Huber, a former player at the University of Alabama. We have been talking about Sideliner and Kinematic Sports, which is something that was created at the University of Alabama, and we see it I look at it, maybe I've got a different description, but the 10 on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And I know that's a generic term, but I think a lot of people look at it, and I see the little logo, and I think it says built by Bama, or maybe it says rebuilt by Bama. Anyway, it's kind of unique that little slogan has been created, but it's that tent that we're talking about today that Baron Huber has been able to accept, and a challenge to be able to get that out all the high schools in the state of Alabama. Sideliner by Kinematic Sports.
Yeah, it's been a huge opportunity for us. Jared Cassidy and Patrick Powell and Jeff Allen, the folks there at Kinematic Sports, getting their patent this year. The University of Alabama getting its patent on the sideliner, and us being able to not only get the NFL to invest in it. Last year, every team in the NFL had a tent on the sideline, and our goal is how can we bring that to the athletes and the players here in our state, in the state of Alabama. And thanks to Taylor Martina Law Firm down in Mobile, we're going to be able to give over 20 high schools in the Mobile, Baldwin County area a free sideliner for their athletic trainers and their physicians to be able to administer proper protocol, not just for concussions, but for other injuries as well. And it's a passion of ours, and we've worked well together, and we're excited with the help of Taylor Martina Law Firm to be able to bring that to Mobile, Baldwin County, and we're going to continue to work hard to bring it to every athlete and give them the privacy that they deserve on the sideline.
All right, are you going to stay around for a few minutes?
Absolutely.
I've asked you for an hour, but you've given me an hour. Now I got John Parker Wilson coming up here in a few minutes.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Do you have any tough questions for a former quarterback? Anything that you've ever wanted to ask John Parker in a public setting?
Yeah, I'd like to ask him why he never audibled to like a dive when I was in, like a fullback dive. The guy had the option to do it. He never did it. And here we were roommates, best friends. You can't throw a guy a bone.
So now hold on, you guys were roommates?
We were roommates, yeah.
I did not know that. Okay,
absolutely.
Okay. So we got it. Could you imagine Marquise Munson roommate stories? Baron Huber probably has
some of those
information.
This isn't XM, so I don't know if we could go into all of them. But no, I'm just kidding. He's John Parker's a great ambassador for the university, and he's got a great opportunity in front of him. I'm really excited.
Oh,
about
I
it
am
for him.
too.
So yeah, let me ask you, Barry. I want to ask you about the color analyst job that John Parker Wilson got. What do you think about him getting that job?
I love it, man. I tell you what, I think people are going to see. This is a guy born and bred in the state of Alabama. He's been a fan his entire life. Always the perspective of a quarterback, because the quarterback has to know everything that goes on the field, and for him to be able, and gosh, he's definitely smart enough, for him to be able to provide insight and to be a fan. That's the biggest thing. I want somebody that's going to be talking in my ear on Saturday that is a fan. I want to hear it in your voice, and for him to be able to have that opportunity, I know he's going to knock it out of the park, and I'm thankful for it, and I'm anxious to listen to him, and give him a hard time, obviously.
Yeah, I am too, because they've been doing these trials of these scrimmages, and I wanted to kind of like ride up the elevator and get over close to the box and just kind of put my ear up to the where Eli Gold and John Parker Wilson are in the box, and they're calling this, and then they're recording it, going back, and I'm sure they're spending time and critiquing and trying to find a way to get better. But I've often wanted to hear, because I'm excited to hear John Parker, which is part of our show each and every Tuesday, just in that booth sitting by a legend in Eli Gold. I mean, you just say Eli Gold, and the first thing that comes to mind is Alabama Crimson Tide football. It's what comes to my mind when you think about a guy like Eli Gold, and for John Parker to be teamed up with him, it's going to be great analysis.
Absolutely. Growing up in East Tennessee, the name I'm familiar with is John Ward. He just passed away this year, and I would put Eli Gold easily up there with John Ward, and to be able to hear John Parker, a former friend first and foremost, but a former teammate, is pretty awesome.
All right, so we're going to ask John Parker why he never audibled out of the dive. Coming up in a couple of minutes, it's presented by Tuscaloosa Toyota. And then also, after John Parker, I got to slip in one Jeremy Pruitt question. I know that.
Oh man, I was upset. I was upset. I'm not going to lie. I was upset when he left. But he did the right thing.
But is there part of you that pulls for him just a little bit? No, never mind. I saw the look. You don't have to say anything. Never mind.
I don't want to incriminate myself.
Never mind. Let me just back away. Baron Huber. Think about something that was created with all those creative minds on the campus of the University of Alabama with Jeff Allen. And, we talk about the best football coach in the country with Nick Saban. You think about a guy like Jeff Allen, to getting these guys back. There's a reason why Terrell Lewis and Christian Miller were able to come back and help us win a national title. It's because of guys like Jeff Allen and his team that help those players with their mindset of getting back on that football field. As you think about something that was created here that now used in the NFL, that we set the standard there. If folks out there are listening and they say, I got to get in touch with you, how do they do it?
You can get in touch with me, just baron.huber@gmail.com.
baron.huber@gmail.com.
Yeah, that's my personal email. That's the easiest way to get in touch with me. You can also go to Kinematic Sports .com and take a look there. There's some great stuff online, and Jeff, he got awarded for being the best in the business. He had Athletic Trainer of the Year, which was long overdue, and for him to have the foresight to be a blessing to other people and look at what sports needed as a whole, not just football, but what sports needed, and for him to follow through with it and be able to bring it to fruition, and to have the highest of high, the NFL, invest in it and look at this as a piece of equipment that must be on there for player safety. And for us to be able to team up with Taylor Martino Law Firm and be able to bring it to high schools. And that's what we're passionate about, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to bring it to more as this gets out, and we're excited about it. I can't thank you enough for letting us come on and letting us talk about it. And it's been a pleasure. I can't believe it's been an hour and 20 minutes.
Hey, it's been a lot of fun reliving some of those days and talking Alabama Crimson Tide football. It's fun to see what you guys have been able to accomplish, whether it's yourself or any other player at the University of Alabama. It's good to see you guys have a lot of success, and for what y'all gave to the University of Alabama. I think the least we could do is kind of offer you some airtime, and you guys give us a lot of satisfaction on Saturday afternoon, looking out there and seeing championships and all that, and to get behind something you guys are doing. We appreciate the time. Thank you again.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Baron.huber@gmail.com. Baron.huber, Huber. It's kinematicsports.com. Kinematicsports.com. Partnered up with Jeff Allen, all those guys at the University of Alabama.